Good morning, Laoshi Laurince McElroy here, changing the sound setting. There we go. With another in our pre-recorded video series, and this time of being alone together in home isolation and quarantine and whatever else you want to call it. So this is another one that's going to be, more or less a one-off. We're kind of in a sequence of that. I am going to address today for Water Tiger School the two-person drills known as push hands. Very important part from Water Tiger School and my own perspectives in your development as a Tai Chi player. But in the push hands exercises, drills aren't attractive to everyone because they see it, and most all of the exercises of drills are really required to have a martial intent, but push hands is not fighting. Push hands is not combat. Yes, push hands can help you develop your sensitivity to your opponent, but it's really the development of the sensitivity that push hands from Water Tiger School's perspective. That's what the drills are all about. As well as the fact that many people find it very, well, maybe not at first, but eventually can really sort of get into themselves and settle down and center themselves and be relaxed while they're playing their floor exercises and their forms. That relaxation tends to go away when you put somebody right in front of them. So that's the other challenge of push hands. As has been said in different ways at different times, the only true calm and relaxation is the ability to stay calm and relaxed in chaos. I'm sure current events don't come to mind at all. So that's sort of our approach. The thing is, I said earlier, push hands is really quite important to your development as a Tai Chi player. But they're two-person exercises. We are in home isolation. Even though we might be home isolating with members of our family, maybe members of our family aren't too interested in what we do in Tai Chi. So them as a push hands partner may not be possible. So what I'm going to do today, a little warm up. I think four separate drills after the warm up. Different ways to develop your push hands solo. Now, the first two you can do easily with me with the video. The second, actually three, so five. The last three require a little equipment setup and that sort of thing. So probably just using the second half of the video today to give you an idea of what could be possible. I hope that all makes sense. I'm going to get up, start my warm up. Get some things moving. I'm also going to make a reference to our video last week that we posted that was turning up the intensity on the wide leg hamstring stretch. So, because of course, once we finished video production and posted it online, I ran across something that's like, why didn't I include that in the intensifiers? It's something that I normally do when I do a split leg hamstring stretch, but not normally when I do a wide leg hamstring stretch. So it slipped my mind. It wasn't on the list of things to do. So anyway, I'm going to do a little aerobic warm up. If you're going to participate in the video, you should do something. It doesn't have to be what I'm doing. I'm going to go for about 2 minutes and 20 seconds. I'm going to start with a march, getting the knees up, bringing the knees to the hands, not the hands to the knees, right? I'm not doing that. If you have a little bit smaller range of motion, then putting the hands where the knees can reach. You don't have to be doing this. That's too much. Opening them up after 20 seconds. I'm doing 20-second intervals on all the little breaks here. After the two marches, I'm going to go for a run. Stationary run, of course. Well, I guess I could run around the exercise mat, but that would be silly. So the knees are back to where they were sort of marching, maybe not as high. Getting into the run instead of the march. You don't have to go thighs parallel as you're running just to warm up. And then the same thing I did with the march. I'm going to take the knees wide. I think I did some of the same aerobic workout warm up last week before the wide leg hamstring stretch, so it's familiar. And this looks a little silly, but it changes where, what's working and where the warmth is going. Now, knees down, heels up. Little ballistic quad stretch. So the first run is just for the sake of running. Second run, sort of ballistic groin stretch, if you will. And here's a ballistic quad stretch. Now, little half jacks. You don't have to go full tilt here. My shoulders and my chest are tight. I'll sometimes mix it up with this. Chest tight also. Might go with the elbows up. Now it's known as run lunges. Two versions here. I can grab and pull. Pulling into the leg that's coming forward. Or I do a straight arm. And I'll just kind of shake that out. So that's the basic. We're going to do another 2 minutes of stuff. First minute, upper body. Second minute, lower. Just waiting for the seconds to get somewhere that I like. I need to introduce this. I'm going to do an Egoscue shoulder series. Pads of the fingers, folded to the base of the fingers, thumbs out. Maintain that position throughout. Straight arms for the first two. Little arm circles, no higher than the shoulders, just shoulder height. And even though my thumbs are forward, I'm keeping the hands mostly doing this, circling behind me, not in front of the body. And as big as what works. Now, hitchhiker's backward. Other I call hitchhiker's forward. Notice I'm still sort of shuffling my feet. Keeping things going. Palms are up here, thumbs are back. Arms straight, no joints. Breathing, obviously. Now, what we call butterfly. Thumbs are down. Close together, as far apart. As close together, as far apart. Knuckles at the temples. And notice I'm not pumping my head. A lot of people do sort of head pump thing. I want to keep the head still. All right, now a Pilates leg series. So inhale, 2 exhales. Inhale, 2 exhales. The first pull activates. The second is really the stretch. Last pair. Now sort of a pigeon version. Grab, pull, pull. Grab, pull, pull. Grab, exhale, exhale. Grab, exhale, exhale. Careful if you have some knee issues. I have to be careful with my right knee right now. One more pair, I think. Now, same thing with the quad stretch. Grab, pull, pull. Grab, pull, pull. Grab, pull, pull. Grab, exhale, exhale. Grab, exhale, exhale. I think we're at one more pair. All right, so I'm warm. I'm ready to go. But as I said, I'm going to make a quick referral to last week's turning up the intensity of the wide leg hamstring stretch. So what you can do, we all know, well, the sort of the backside stretch where you interlock the fingers, palms up. If you can get the palms together, great. And then we just sort of hang out here. Right? So you're in your wide leg hamstring stretch position. You've got the hamstrings pretty loose. You want to come out of it a little bit. Grab the hands together and go back down. So you're getting hamstring, shoulders, chest, upper back, a little bit of change in the physical position of the stretch. So just one more way to turn up the volume in the white leg hamstring stretch. So you're welcome. You get that free of charge this week. So our first push hands exercise in the Water Tiger School lineage is a little thing that we call mirror push hands. It's actually based on an acting exercise, a partnering acting exercise. However, I was looking for a push hands exercise that didn't require physical contact for the public arena, for those people who didn't really know what was going on. And, you know, you're doing something like a Tai Chi in the park or World Tai Chi Day event, and strangers touching each other even before 2020, not always an attractive idea. So the idea is palm to palm. And in the partnership exercise, you really want to consider that idea that you're the image that you're connecting through the centers of your palms, the Laogong points, the temples of possibility. That, you know, an image breath that we have about breathing through the whole body becomes taking your inhalation in through your partner, into your hands, into your body, and your exhalation through your body, out the palms of your hands, into your partner. No partner, what do you do? Well, that part of the drill is gone except for in your imagination, which is fine. But what you can do solo without a partner, just because you don't have a partner doesn't mean you can't do this exercise. One of the major challenges people have with this exercise is they get into a pattern, you know, or patty cake. So maybe especially without a partner, you're eliminating their feedback into creating a pattern. So you can play patternless yourself. And by the way, those partnerships, there should be no leader, no follower. That you're both moving as one. Yin and yang together. No plan, no pattern. It's not like, oh, I went down, now I have to come up. Feel the movement through your body. So you get your feet shoulder wide. Everything's loose and relaxed. You know, we do exercises like shaking the tree, like big python, where we really feel the whole body, or teacup exercise, where everything's moving through the whole body. Those are things that you sort of want to bring into the underpinning of this exercise. So you put your palms up. And then you just start moving. Let the movement come through the whole body. You know, and it's not just turning right and left, it's expanding and contracting, compressing. Better word, I like compress better than contract. Moving forward, moving back, moving up and down, in and out. And seeking to allow the body, the Xia Dan Tian, and the movement to define itself and not be anything about what you think. So of course, that's more difficult with a partner. But again, we use the word partner, not opponent, not other, but a true joined partnership. You can be able to feel where the movement's going next. There are some people who, at least for short bursts of this exercise as a partnering exercise, who will close their eyes and not crash into their partner's hand and not separate from their partner's hand. So again, notice there's no part of me, right? I'm not just sitting here on one leg and moving the hands. I'm not simply going weight into the left foot, and then weight into the right foot, and then weight into the left foot, and then weight into the right foot. I'm not just turning forward and back Everything is moving. Everything is undulating. I maintain my basic vertical alignment, crown point of the head over the base of the pelvic bowl. And let the movement unfold. I had a student one time years ago in the program, went to a women in the martial arts convention, symposium, something. And one of the workshops was a workshop in Tai Chi push hands. And of course, the facilitator of the workshop led the group in her lineage's approach to push hands. But at the end of the workshop, she had everyone who was from a Tai Chi program and who did push hands, because yeah, there are programs that don't do push hands, introduce the group to their, something from their push hands lexicon. And this student of ours introduced mirrored push hands to the group. Everyone in the room, regardless of their length of study, thought mirrored push hands was the hardest thing they'd ever done in their Tai Chi play. All right, I'm going to bring this to a close. So come on in, down. And there you go. Little mirrored push hands. You play with the whole body movement. Maybe you play in front of a reflective surface so you can sort of see and make sure that everything's moving. I mean, I'm using the camera and the video feed as sort of a check for myself as I'm doing this. It's one of the interesting things about the environment in which we find ourselves. A lot of us are only using this technology to join Zoom sessions and whatever the Microsoft version is and whatever else is going on, right? So just when they're interacting with others, you have a camera, you have audio, record yourself doing things, should have a live feed as I do. I would think most technology allows for that, so you can actually see yourself while you're doing it and then go back and check and see what you're doing. So anyway, so there's that, right? Which reminds me of the woman one time in a public class. My go-to as an instructor, if somebody's having a challenge, is I will ask them, to tell me about their practice. If they seem stuck, if they're at a plateau and just can't, get to the next thing. I asked this woman one time, tell me about your practice. Well, I'm not practicing. Well, okay, that sort of triggers me a little bit. But I said, so why not? She said, well, I like practicing in front of a mirror. I said, well, that's good. Yeah, but I look silly, and I don't like looking silly, so I'm not going to practice. If everybody searches for an excuse, they'll find one. So our main push hands exercise, our primary push hands exercise, in which a lot of the rest of it is based, is what we refer to as symbiotic push hands. Different people do something similar to this, but in its similarity, it's different. We settle ourselves into our force stance. So again, remember, force stance. For water tiger school, where the shoulders drop, splits the heel in half, right? Not judging where the balls of the feet are, but where the heels are. So for our force stance, forward moving stance, bow stance, that sort of thing, mountain climbing stance. Can't remember the Chinese. I always screw up mountain climbing stance with sitting leg stance. But anyway, the back foot somewhere around a 45, right? And the front foot somewhere forward. And I square off the hips to start with. Now for our symbiotic push hands, the forward leg is the forward hand. Right? So what I'm going to do pattern-wise, we know in most of the forms, we would turn back, going from something like ward off to roll back, etc. We turned toward the back leg. If you do anything from the 9 temple exercises, if you do prayer wheel or turning heaven and earth, it has different names. You set right back. So, you set back, you move at an angle, but you're not turning at all. In our symbiotic push hands, we set back, but we turn toward the front leg. It's a more difficult position. You have to be careful of this knee, that you're not pulling it out of alignment with that foot. So the lower body position is forward through square to back through square, forward through square to back through square, forward to through square to back to through square. And notice my hands are moving because the body is moving. The upper body position is, as I'm moving forward, it is as if a palm strike, lightly formed, with intent but not intensity, toward the center of my partner's chest. So if I'm my partner, I don't know if you can see my peace sign with the sword in it. I thought it was appropriate for push hands because it's peaceful, but there's martial intent. This was made by designed by an undergrad student at the University of South Dakota when I was there as a Shou t-shirt for Antigone. Look it up. So palm strike, I would be aiming for sort of right at the center of the peace sign. Boom. But while I'm moving forward, they're doing the turn back. My palm is against their wrist. They lead me off into the side. They change to come back toward me. Now their hand is against the back of my wrist. Elbows up, I create this little bumper. The elbow drops down, I turn out, and I move forward again. Swept out, and come back. Now all sorts of things happen when you put the partner in front of you. You lose the relaxation. You lose the continuity of movements. And people will get into the back leg and then just set in the back leg, finish the upper body turn, and then move forward. They'll set in the forward leg and then come back. And you want to find that flow. This is, we might talk about in doing something like prayer wheel, that there's no stop. Water comes up on the shore and it rolls back out into the ocean. It comes back up on the shore and it rolls back in the ocean. So imagine, right? You have your partner. You're pressing against that wrist. It wouldn't actually be like that, but whatever. Boom. And then you have that partner here pressing back toward you. You don't want to move too fast. You don't want to move too slow. They're sort of, you're responding, not reacting, to their expansion forward. The idea here is you're giving them not resistance, but substance against which they can press, so they will keep their attack. And you turn out at the last moment and forward. Because if you turn out here, look at all that space. One, you leave open. Yeah, I have this hand, but you leave open. You telegraph what you're doing. And now they have plenty of time to change and do something completely different. Here, they don't. Some people have said that we allow too much compression at Water Tiger School in here, in the elbow, that sort of thing. So, you know, somebody could trap your hand. If you are a relaxed person, you can still turn out. Even with that hand there. Even if you're pressed up against the wall and somebody's pressing into your chest. If you don't resist it, if you relax, you can move out from behind it, from under it, if you will. Boom. So this is symbiotic push hands solo. Not, you know, you're practicing not being too compressed. My chest is still sunk. My back is still rounded. My elbow is dropping, right? I have that bumper. I'm not just leading into the downward position. A lot of people will do that, right? I'm keeping that almost, for Water Tiger School, parting wild horse's mane kind of positioning. And then when it's time to drop out the elbow, to turn out, the elbow drops down. Boom. And forward. Sort of a palm strike. Other side, just the same, but it's the other side, you know, mirror image, more or less, turning the left foot out to around the 45, right? Yes, 45 is ideal. 45 is not always possible. Matter of fact, my left foot, I got, I don't know, 6 screws in there. Sometimes, you know, we had a thunderstorm here last night, high humidity today. I think, yeah, I can still do it. Right? Again, normally we turn toward the back foot or simply shift the weight backwards and forward. Here, We're turning out toward the forward foot. Since now my right foot is forward, I'm in what we refer to at Water Tiger School as a right fore stance. My right hand's going to be up. Either taking the, in chess, this would be the black piece position, because that means the white is going to make the first move. Boom. In chess and down. I think they do that in three-dimensional chess too. I don't know. There's a Star Trek reference for those who like that sort of thing. Boom. Now, again, I don't want to get to the point where I'm locked off. That's part of the symbiotic nature of this exercise, and mirrored push hands for that matter as well. In the partnership, you may play with somebody who's taller than you are, shorter than you are, has longer arms than you do, has shorter arms than you do. The idea is to offer them assistance so that they can effectively play the exercise without giving up too much of your own self. So somebody with longer arms, I will put myself in a position where I'm really close to overextending, but I won't overextend. Somebody with shorter arms and use less of my range of motion, probably come in a little bit closer than I normally would, so they get a better feel for the exercise. But again, I will not surrender more than an appropriate amount of ground. Palm strike, lightly formed. I still want to think. I want to feel, here it's the substance of air. But I want to feel that intent in a palm strike, but I'm not driving with muscle and a grimace and tension in the arm. And that coming back, we tend to stay away from the word resistance, but there's a substance here. I'm not stopping them. And ideally in a partnership, if either coming in or going out, my partner stops, I should be able to feel that and not lose contact or press into them harder. You will stop simply because they stopped. And by the way, on that connection point, back of the wrist here, as you're moving forward, and their palm on your wrist here, I want to maintain that sense of the connection point with them. So even though I'm moving back, part of me is expanding forward into the palm of the hand. I'm offering them my wrist. And I'm accepting the offer of their wrist here. So that's symbiotic push hands. So we've done mirrored push hands, we've done symbiotic push hands. We also have a series of push hands that are moving. And what you need is a cord of some sort and a ball of some sort. So I usually suggest to people a tennis ball, but for these exercises, a tennis ball might actually be a little bit harder than it has to be. I just have this little 1K medicine ball that would accept the screw hook. So that's what I did. Right? So you have that ball. No formal stance because I'm going to be moving. And what I seek to do, I don't want to get wild here and go all over the place because then it becomes frenetic. I'm actually, as I'm moving around with this ball, seeking to sort of move with its changes a little bit of what I believe it was William C.C. Cheng. I don't think it was Cheng Men Cheng. I think it was William C.C. Chen. Said was, pushing hands with the wind. So I'm governing the movement a little bit so it doesn't get wild, but always moving in that way to have contact with that hanging object. moving with root. So I'm not doing this, right? We get this a lot on the mat. So I'll joke a lot of times, both in the studio, remote classes, and in public classes, both remotely and that sort of thing. You know, I'm doing something because I want to do it, because, you know, it's all about me. So yes, that is a joke. But that's sort of apropos here, because normally in the Water Tiger School studio program, the last calendar week of every month, we do what we refer to as a festival of push-ins. And what that means is that each, oh, and also notice, I am looking at you a lot of the times, looking toward you, not at you, because I can't see you, and not the ball in the hand. Again, training sensitivity and awareness that goes beyond the visual acuity. Anyway, so studio went dark because of the pandemic on March 17th. It's been dark ever since. So that means March, April, and May months have gone without a festival of push-ins. And I've been kind of hungry for push-ins, so here you go. That's why we're doing this. So you can also use weaponry. All right. So we have a moving push hands exercise. I'll get down here. We have a moving push hands exercise that uses staff to staff contact. So we're extending our connection to our partner through what would normally be considered an inanimate object. So I am seeking to connect in live person-to-person pushing staff exercise or a sticky staff exercise, oops, to my partner's center. This is why I say maybe a little bit larger ball than a tennis ball might be an idea. You don't have to necessarily use a ball. If you don't have a ball, you know, maybe a wadded up towel and a plastic bag hung from the ceiling. But playing, and again, now here, it's much harder because your partner isn't doing anything to stay with you. And you're still seeking to have the ball connected to your center through this long piece of wood. So playing and relaxing and training that sensitivity to feel when you're losing the ball. And part of this exercise becomes what I've found over the years in doing it. It becomes sometimes, yes, I will fail and come apart, but when that happens, can I get back to it without, you know, all of a sudden playing some version of wiffle ball with the ball? By the way, you probably don't want to use a wiffle ball. It's a little bit light. Tennis ball is just really small, but has some weight to it. You really want something that has a little bit of weight. So you have the staff. You can use a short staff too. It doesn't have to be a long staff. Short staff would actually make the exercise a little bit easier. And we have the jian. Right? Yeah, I know I have the actual metal practice sword there. It's not a live blade, but it's a little bit closer to the live blade, which is upstairs. And I won't use that on this. It's not all that sharp, but it does have a sharp edge. Right? And it's the same thing here. And it's another exercise we do with students who have a little bit more experience on the mat. Usually that's what we do with the staff. It's on down the row a little bit. We started at Water Tiger School with mirrored push hands, go to Symbiotic, usually from Symbiotic to moving, from single hand moving to double hand moving, sometimes really quickly to double hand moving. By the way, I don't think I changed the grip on the staff at all. And here, I'm playing push hands in two ways. One, I want to keep in contact with the ball And 2, I'm seeking to play and at least stay partially on camera. So my movement is a little bit more restricted than I'd like. Boom. So you can play with the sword as well, the jian. Boom. So, by the way, when we come out of home isolation, we move back into 3D. Push hands still will not be possible because social distancing or physical distancing will still be in place in places that are listening to the right people. So push hands may still be a possibility. This is still a little close. You're on a risk. You can probably safely maintain your 6 foot of distance if you introduce your students, your co-players, to push staff. Just remember, after every round, disinfected from end to end before it goes into somebody else's hands. So there you go. A little mirrored push hands, a little symbiotic push hands, solo, moving push hands. You need a hanging loose object for what would normally be skin to skin push hands with a partner. And then introduce weaponry. Notice I didn't use either my metal or my practice Dao knife broadsword because they don't lend themselves to push hands exercise because of the curved blade. It just doesn't have the right energy field for a push hands exercise, in my opinion. So I hope you enjoyed this. Oh, one last thing. The bows are different. If you do a formal bow with a weapon, then if you have just open hand, you don't have to drop the weapon to do a formal bow. Weapons held in the left hand. Since it's a straight sword, it's flat, right? Even though it's wooden, I'm not ignoring the fact that it's a bladed weapon. I'm not turning it this way so the blade is slicing into the back of my shoulder. The blade is flat. It also allows me to do that if somebody's coming up behind me, right? So there, right hand, palm to the center line, and that's your formal bow with a weapon. And of course, it varies from weapon to weapon as to how the weapon's held. By the way, in our push hands exercises, since it's a partnership, we do not do a bow coming into the exercise, but we do a bow, casual bow. So that's not here with hands at the side, and a casual bow to our partner, thanking them for the partnership afterwards. I don't know why we don't before. It's just something that I got in my lineage from my instructor. But we do a formal bow with the weapon, both before and after, simply because the weapon adds a certain dynamic that sort of requires, it's like, I know I have this big pointy thing, or I know I have this big bludgeoning thing. I ain't going to hurt you. So we do the formal bow. So, as always, I hope you found this video of service. If you have any comments, any observations or questions regarding these push hands exercises, regarding the content of this video, please feel free to use the comment section below. Still got all sorts of different stuff in the queue. Not sure what we have coming up, but probably by the end of next week, we'll be posting another video. In the meantime, stay safe, stay at home, stay distant, wear a mask, wash your hands, and keep listening to medical professionals and scientists as to how the current unfolding should unfold. We'll talk to you next time.